Hello, good morning, good afternoon. I want to bring you a special bonus episode. As I get ready to board a plane, I'm headed to Las Vegas for the Harris campaign. They notified me yesterday, asked me if I could go to a watch party in Las Vegas for them as a surrogate, and I accepted. So I'll be going to the airport here pretty soon. But I want to bring this special episode to you real quick. When I was in Washington, D.C., I did a podcast with the Good Government Show that is sponsored by the National Association of Counties. I listen to it a lot, just about every episode that they come out with. And I wanted to bring that to you for your pleasure, your listening pleasure. So get ready for the Good Government Show, and I will talk to you ASAP.
This is the Good Government Show.
Started out in law enforcement. I wanted to be a state trooper, a Texas trooper with a cowboy hat and all that. That was my goal. I wish I could, just wave a magic wand and make things happen, but I can't. And, we have to work together and build a consensus and try and do things that are best for the county. I want to be available at all times for everyone. So that's what I try to do. You'll be surprised how much weight one email has or one phone call. It's going to take a diversity of energy to meet the needs of a growing Texas, and that's what we have. Hey, I know you from somewhere. And I'm like, well, I either arrested you or gave you a speeding ticket. So
Welcome to the Good Government Show. On this episode, we're going to meet a fellow podcaster, Louie Minor, and he's a county commissioner from Bell County, Texas. Bell County is in southern Texas, about halfway between Austin and Waco, and Louie Minor lives in the town of Belton, so we're going to Texas. Louie's background, it's pretty impressive. He was a constable in his hometown, and then he joined the Army. He deployed to Iraq and served as an officer in an infantry company. When he got out of the Army, he went into the Department of Homeland Security and served as an incident management officer at the National Operations Center. But like a good Texas boy, he heard the call to Texas and came home. Politics called him, and he's now in his first term as county commissioner. We talked about several issues that are important to him. One of them is the use of solar power and how that's helping the state's power grid. We don't usually talk politics here, but his conversion from Tea Party Republican to an elected Democrat is, well, it's interesting. And it's Texas, so we had to talk barbecue. Brisket, of course. And, of course, where to get good Tex-Mex food in his hometown. Yeah, I might have spent a little too much time talking about food in Texas, but, well, I hope you get hungry too. So coming up from Bell County, Texas, you're about to meet Louie Minor and be impressed. I was. The Good Government Show is sponsored by OurCo. That means our community. OurCo has found a way to make government more effective. OurCo provides the OUR platform, and this is an app that blends in-person and digital interactions to connect people with their government, their county, their town, their state. The OurCo app transforms meaningful conversations into reliable data. They can turn results into projects and programs the community has essentially already approved. It's sort of like a flash poll by phone, but without the call and in real time and wherever community members are. Maybe they're at their house or their office or where they're out just talking about local issues. Maybe the choice is between putting in more local buses or expanding the bike lanes. OurCo can get you an answer immediately. With OUR, you can engage your citizens or any group, learn what they want, and build programs and policies that advance your county, your job creators, your constituents. So visit ourco.com, that's OURCO.com, and learn how they do it. And while you're there, book a demonstration. Welcome to the Good Government Show. We are talking today with Louie Minor, who is a county commissioner from Belton, Texas, in Bell County. Tell us where Bell County is.
So Bell County is north of Austin, about an hour. If you think of Austin, Austin is Travis County. Then you have Williamson County. The next county up is Bell County. So we're right off of I-35 and Interstate 14 merger.
Well, the real reason why we're talking right now is because you are also a fellow podcaster. Tell us about what your show and go ahead.
So I have a podcast. I'm new in office. I just took office. This is the second year of my first term. So I was thinking, how can I get my message out to my constituents, to people know what I'm doing. I started listening to podcasts a couple of years ago.
Good.
And
we like that.
thought that it was an easy way for me to get my message out. But I also find it therapeutic, I
don't know about easy, but okay.
It's therapeutic to me that I'm able to let people know what I'm trying to do, why I vote, how I vote. And what's coming up on the next agenda for the Commissioner's Court. So I love doing my podcast, and people will tell me that they hear it, that they listen, and I really think no one ever listens, but they do.
Yes, sometimes you're sitting alone in a room all by yourself. You're like, what am I doing this for?
Yeah, exactly.
So what's the reaction from people? Do they like what you're doing?
They do. I've had some guests on, some local community leaders and stuff like that. It's a way, just it's like a town hall almost.
Okay, how often do you do it?
I try to do it weekly. Obviously, I'm not able
not
to.
Every week?
Yeah, I'm not able to do that. I wish I could do it every week, but I do my best. So last year was my first full year, and I think I did 30-something shows.
Well, it's always nice to meet a fellow podcaster.
Thank you.
What are the topics you're discussing?
I always start off with what's on the next agenda for the Commissioner's Court, just to let people know. I talk about what happened the last meeting, how we voted, and what was going on, and then I just pick a topic. I try to stick to local issues, since there's a lot of national stuff out there and a lot of statewide podcasts out there that you get. So I really want people to know what's going on locally in their county and some of the cities.
And one of the things that you talked about, which was intrigued me right away, is solar farms. Tell me what you've got and how this came to be.
Well, this started obviously before I got into office. In Texas,
take full credit.
Right? Yeah, take full credit. In Texas, we don't have land use authority out in the county, so it's almost the Wild West. You could do whatever you want with your property, as long as there's only certain things that the state requires. So we have a lot of solar farms, over 9,000 acres in Bell County that are in the process of development. The only way that we can have any type of say-so in that process is through the tax abatement process. So a lot of these solar farms are coming to the county asking for a tax abatement, a 312 tax abatement. We can only grant a tax abatement for up to 10 years.
Okay.
And then it goes to the full appraised value of the property. So that we're able to get some covenants with that tax abatement agreement on, repairs of roads, use of land, barriers, screening devices. And that's really the only way that we're able to have some control over these solar farms. Neighbors obviously complain. They live out in the county.
Yeah.
And they expect it to be, trees and deer for forever. But they get pretty upset whenever their neighbor decides to put acres and acres of solar panels up.
What does it look like?
It looks like what you would expect, acres and acres of solar panels out there. Yeah. And
how high off the ground are they?
Oh, they're probably a good, 15 feet above the ground. But there's a lot of, dust control. They tear up the county roads. The roads are not developed for that type of traffic, at least for the construction part.
Right.
Then the maintenance is obviously easy and long term. But that's part of our agreement that, once you're done with the construction and development, then you have to re-improve the road that was tore up.
And has this brought jobs into the county?
Yes, obviously it brings construction jobs into the county. Long-term jobs, it doesn't take a lot of upkeep on the solar panels.
Yeah.
But it does bring good construction jobs into the county.
And has there been an energy benefit for the county citizens?
It goes to the grid. And if you keep up with Texas at all, a couple of years ago, our grid almost crashed when we had an ice storm.
Right.
And
I heard about that.
Yeah, there were people out of power for days.
Yeah.
Over 700 people estimated died from the grid almost collapsing. So we need to have a diversity of energy in the state.
So this is definitely helping.
It's helping. Absolutely, it's helping.
Have you seen, or has there been shown to have an impact with all the solar panels on the farms?
Yes. I think for the first time.
Obviously, I guess my question really is, what's the impact been?
Well, our grid hasn't collapsed, so
we've had power.
Yeah, we've had power. Texas continues to grow. People continue to move to Texas. So to meet that growth, we have to have a diversity of energy. Businesses are coming, so it's absolutely imperative that renewables are part of the solution.
So I've talked to folks from the Fort Worth area and from Austin, and I understand that, I hate to use the word runaway growth, but certainly incredible growth, people moving to Texas. How do you manage that? And how do you manage that and sort of keep the Texas character of the land, of the area? How do you handle that growth?
It's something that we're learning to do in Bell County. Bell County, we're only almost 400,000 people in the county. So we're transitioning right now from the rural mindset of the county and development and land use that we do have control over, to now we have to start thinking about, okay, do we want our subdivisions to have sidewalks? Do we want our subdivisions to have, amenities in there? A lot of times the developers, they'll put those in because that's what people expect. But it's not mandatory. But whenever they put those in, who's responsible for maintaining that? It's going to be the county, unless there's some type of homeowners association associated with it.
But you also want to retain a feeling like you're in Texas, right?
Right.
So how do you do that?
I guess by your address. No, it's.
I know you're not in the Wild West, but
right.
Once it was.
Yes.
And that's part of the attraction, is it not?
It is. I guess when I've been to New York before, and people hear that I'm from Texas, and they expect for me to have a cowboy hat and that I own, some horses and cattle. And I don't. I live in the city. So
okay. Well, do you have a cowboy hat?
I do have a cowboy hat. I got some cowboy boots on right now.
You got your boots on? All right.
Yeah. So
no hat on. No hat on, folks. Just boots.
But no, I think people are moving to Texas because of the jobs, because of the cost of living. But that.
And good weather most of the time.
And good barbecue.
Great barbecue. Great barbecue.
And tacos. Let me throw that in there.
All right. Sorry.
But so, we have to manage what people are, I guess, paying for. And, Texas has one of the highest property taxes in the country. So managing, our property taxes versus the needs of the residents. When
people talk about Texas right now, they think about the migrant crisis at the border. We talked a little bit earlier. It doesn't affect your town with migrants coming in, but it is a Texas problem. How are you dealing with it?
So I don't see a migrant crisis in our county. If you look at what's being played on TV and talk shows and all that stuff, it's like we're being invaded, we're being flooded. I don't see that. Texas just recently passed a state law that now they're going to be able to deport someone suspected of entering illegally. And I don't know how they're going to enforce that. I don't know what's going to be the probable cause other than the color of your skin to go and ask someone, are you here legally or not? And that's scary to me as a Hispanic person. My family, my grandmother, who's 93 years old. Yeah. She doesn't speak English very well. She doesn't read or write very well. And,
Spanish is fine.
Yeah, Spanish is fine. So, I'm concerned for people like her that hey, you're here illegally. Let me take you down to the border and remove you from the country.
Well, that's a real issue.
It is. But the people that are here that I've met, they're here as asylum seekers. They're here legally. They've entered legally as asylum seekers. They're providing. They're doing jobs and services that Americans just don't want to do anymore. I had mentioned, try pouring concrete in a Texas summer and see how long you last.
I don't think I would last very long.
It's not going to be very long. So our asylum seekers that are here, our immigrants that are here, they're doing jobs that Americans just don't want to do.
And you said your grandma is Mexican. And she came here. So this is your family story, kind of.
Right. No, absolutely. But Texas, I guess, is a little bit different. Texas was part of Mexico.
It was.
That we have that connection of being part of Mexico.
And you were born and raised in Texas, you said, but a sort of a curious path to get to county government. You said you were a police officer and the military.
Correct.
So what's your background that led you to county commission?
Well, so I started out in law enforcement. I wanted to be a state trooper, a Texas trooper with a cowboy hat and all that. That was my goal. But every time...
Is that different than a Texas Ranger?
Yes, it is.
Okay, all right.
But a state trooper is like our state police.
Right.
But, whenever I initially looked into it, the Texas Rangers, I think all you needed was like 15 credit hours to sign up to be a Texas Ranger.
Oh. So
I said, okay, well, I'll go get a couple of college credits and go get that. Well, it seemed like every time I was about to meet the bar, the DPS kept on raising their thing education requirements. So it went from that to like an associate's degree, then a bachelor's degree. And I'm like, well, I might as well just get my full education. So I joined law enforcement, and then so I was doing that, and then I joined the National Guard. And as a National Guard, I commissioned as an officer. Obviously, we were in 2 wars at the time,
right,
in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I was pretty much full-time Army after that. Deployed to Iraq and came back and did 2 years at Fort Lewis, Washington. And then once I got out of the military, I went to work for Homeland Security in Washington, D.C. in the National Operations Center.
Wow.
Before returning home.
What brought you back to Texas?
Politics. At the time, I felt that political bug calling. I wanted to come back home and start my own business. And I did those things and got into politics. Now, I didn't get elected, obviously, for 10 years.
Oh.
10 years I've been involved in politics. But I was able to finally get elected. Now I'm county commissioner for Precinct 4, which is Killeen area of Bell County. And I love what I do.
And what projects have you sort of taken as your causes?
Well,
we are the Good Government Show. So,
yeah.
So sprinkle some good government projects in here.
Well, we're doing a couple of things in the county. The main thing that I'm focusing on right now is we're building a new clean annex. The old one that we have was, I think, built in the 50s. So it's going to be over 27,000 square foot building.
I'm sorry, what? Annex?
Annex, yes.
Yeah.
And that's going to have all of our services for
office building.
Okay. Yes. Right. Then we're doing a diversion center to try and keep people that continually get arrested for mainly like criminal trespassing and stuff like that. Usually they have substance abuse problems, mental health problems that they don't need to be going to the jail. So
you know that firsthand as a police officer.
So keeping them out of the jail, trying to getting them stabilized, getting some medication, and trying taking care of that issue outside of jail.
Have you run into people you've arrested?
Not yet. It's been a long time since I've been an officer.
Okay.
But I used to tell people because they would say like, "Hey, I know you from somewhere," and I'm like, "Well, I either arrested you or gave you a speeding ticket." So,
how's it working out? Are you finding that it you said you tried for 10 years to run for office.
Right.
Now you're in office. What do you think?
Now I'm in office. I love it. Things, I wish I could, just wave a magic wand and make things happen, but I can't. And, we have to work together and build a consensus and try and do things that are best for the county.
After you get done with this episode, hear more good government stories with our friends at How to Really Run a City. Former mayors Kasim Reed of Atlanta and Michael Nutter of Philadelphia, and their co-host, journalist and author Larry Platt, talk with guests and other mayors about how to really get stuff done in cities around the nation. Check them out where you're listening now or through their nonprofit news site, thephiladelphiacitizen.com. countycommissioner.org/podcasts. All right, now we're going to get into the heart of the matter here.
Okay.
This is our questionnaire. You are 2 years a county commissioner, but you worked for Homeland Security and, of course, a military background and, local police. With all that together, define good government.
I answered.
You prepared for this?
I answered this question a couple of weeks ago on my own podcast because I was like, that's one of the questions that you do ask. What is good government? And I explained to on my podcast, if I ever got the chance to answer this question, I would answer it like this. I think good government is providing the resources and the needs of the people where the people are. It doesn't do any good to have all these resources available to them if they're not able to find them. So you got to go to where the people are and bring those resources to them.
A great answer, but I have to take off half a point because you prepped for this. How do you judge your success? So you're 2 years in. How do you decide if you're doing a good job?
It's up to the people to decide if I'm doing a good job. So far,
but you have to know yourself. Like, am I doing this right?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you figure that out?
Well, I stay in contact with community leaders. They tell me that they like what I'm doing. Keep it up. I'm trying to do everything I can to include more people in government. Raise that awareness of what we're doing. Do
you take phone calls on your show?
I do.
And do they let you know?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they'll let me know. And but yeah, I want to be available at all times for everyone. So that's what I try to do.
How do the voters, the people in your district, how do they know if they're getting good government, if you're doing a good job, and how would you like them to hold you accountable?
Well, like in anyone else, it's done at the ballot box. But getting involved, being involved with your government, you'll be surprised how much weight one email has or one phone call. We typically don't get a lot of correspondence from people unless they're complaining about something.
Right.
And that's when we respond. But just letting people know that, your voice in local government does matter. It matters more than you think. So making that phone call, sending a text message and sending an email does mean a lot.
So that sort of leads to my next question. If people feel like they're not getting the good service, good government, if they feel like their elected officials aren't doing what they want, what should they do? What would you like them to do? They
have to be involved. Being involved is the biggest thing that you could do to affect change. Whether you agree with the person or not, the elected official or not, that involvement, do it respectfully. But there's definitely ways that I'm eager to hear from my constituents anywhere in the county. They don't have to live in precinct 4.
Okay.
But anywhere in the county, I want to hear from them and tell me if I'm doing a good job or a bad job. They do tell me, and I tell them thank you.
Well, where do they tell you? Do they tell you at the taco stand? Do they tell you at the gas station? Do they tell you in your office?
They'll tell me at meetings.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's what we signed up for. And
is it hard sometimes to go to the grocery store or to run to the hardware store?
It's getting more and more difficult. It's getting more and more. Hey, keep in mind that I've been involved for a little bit, but now that I'm elected and I run into people, they definitely want to talk business, and that's okay.
Which leads me to my next question. Now that you've been in the office that you were seeking, what would you like people to know as an insider? What would you like them to know about government and how it works?
Well, we have to pay for things, and the way we pay for those things is mainly through property taxes and sales tax in Texas. The sales tax we don't control, but the property tax we kind of control it.
Yeah.
We don't do the evaluations.
Okay.
That's the appraisal districts that do the evaluations of the property. We just set the tax rate. But I think if the people understand where their money is going and what it's for, they may not be happy, but they're going to be willing to pay those property taxes. Do you want good water, clean water? Do you want good roads and bridges? What are you expecting from your county government, and are you willing to pay for it? That's what people need to understand. That's what our money goes to.
Because all this doesn't come free.
Correct.
Okay. Who's your political hero? Who inspired you? You said you spent years trying, running for office. Who inspired you to do this? Who's your hero?
LBJ.
Really?
LBJ, the Great Society.
Okay.
The New Deal.
You're a young man. I mean, you were not alive when Johnson was.
No, I wasn't. But I've studied those things, and improving the quality of lives in all aspects.
We're talking about former President Lyndon Johnson.
Correct.
Oh, yeah. Texas boy as well.
Yes, Texas as well.
Okay.
Just making improvements for quality of life for people. That'll make me successful at the end of the day. Did I improve their quality of life? Did I improve their jobs, their education, everywhere that I could help?
All right. Did you see there was an LBJ play on Broadway? I don't know if you caught it.
I have not. I have not.
I've spoken with a few people from Texas, but you are the first one ever to mention LBJ as your political hero. So there you go. So, you said you spent some time wanting to do this. Were you president of your high school class? Was getting into politics something you always aspired to, even though
it was not? It was not. I think where I got, really wanting to do something, and I'll get a little bit political, because I'm a political person.
Sure.
It was with the Tea Party. When the Tea Party started coming around, I think in the 2010, 12, something like that. I was a Republican back then, and I was. I'm like, this is not the party I signed up for. And whenever I would go to meetings, the Republican meeting versus the Democratic meetings that I would go to, I was like, okay, one of these looks like me. One of these has a diversity of people going to it. The other one did not. So I just felt more included under the going to Democratic meetings. So that's kind of long story short.
Which goes back to LBJ.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now we talked a little bit before about Texas barbecue. You mentioned tacos. I'm coming to your town. Where are we going out? What are we having? What are you serving? What's the dish in Bell County?
Well, we would go to Belton, Texas. There's a great place there called Chef's Barbecue.
Chef's Barbecue. All right. What are we ordering?
You walk in.
What's your standing order there?
You get the moist brisket.
Yep.
And you get some turkey,
okay,
and some jalapeno and cheese sausage, and then you go, and that's outside. You order it outside, then you go inside and you get all the sides. You get some potato salad, and they have some Mexican street corn in there that is the best.
All right. Anything else?
Well, you got to finish it with a sopapilla cheesecake.
Okay. You didn't mention any good Tex-Mex.
Oh, well, I mean, I thought you were talking barbecue.
No, we can talk anything. I mean, it's your town. You're showing me the town.
So then we would go to one of the taquerias. I know the family that owns all the taquerias there in Bell County.
All right.
All of them are great. And, it's really, really good Mexican food.
And what does your 93-year-old grandmother make from Mexico?
Tortillas, like that, and beans.
That's her thing?
That's the thing.
All right,
that's the staple.
Growing up or going to grandma's house, you knew you're going to eat good?
Beans and tortillas.
What do you cook?
I don't get to cook as much as I'd like to. I go to a lot of meetings, go to a lot of events, and my parents just moved, They used to live in Belton. Now they live about 45 minutes outside of Belton. So I'm not able to go to Mama's every day like I used to and
too bad.
Get a dinner real quick.
So it is called the Good Government Show. We like to talk about good government projects. Give me an example of a good government project you're working on.
A good government project that I'm working on. There is a county road that desperately needs to be expanded from 2 lanes to 4 lanes. The school district decided in its infinite wisdom to put a new high school and a middle school and an elementary on that road.
Okay, so it's going to get a lot of use?
Well, those schools are already there. But the road is not, to improve all the traffic there. So we're desperately trying to improve that street. But it is a county road. But it's right on the city limits. So the city is involved of Killeen.
Okay.
So
is that going to make it too busy with all those school kids?
Well, we need to make it safe.
Okay.
And that's the priority for both for the pedestrians and the vehicle traffic, because it's not safe right now.
So you told me that you have listened to the show before. What do you think about what we're doing, and how do you like it?
I love it. I love it. There's, like I said, it's on my list of podcasts that I listen to, and I get updates whenever it gets
a new subscriber.
A new episode is available. But being knowledgeable about what other counties are doing, what other municipalities are doing, that's key for success. That's why I come to these events like this.
We're at the NACO conference in Washington, the Legislative Conference of the National Association of Counties, Legislative Conference in Washington, D.C. We're here.
Correct.
All right.
I want to learn what other people are doing. I want to know what works, what doesn't work, what funds are available, new funds that are coming out. I want to be the first in line to bring those dollars to my county.
And long term, you're going to be a county commissioner for a while?
It's in the next. I'll be there for the next couple of years, and we'll see what happens after that. But I love what I do. I love talking to the people. I love being responsive to their needs, and I'll continue to do that as long as they allow me, in whatever capacity. All right. Well, it was a pleasure chatting with you. Thanks for stopping by. You said, the Good Government Show. I'm a listener. So immediately we started talking. And good news about solar panels. I think anything that we can do to come up with alternate fuel sources has got to be a positive, right? It's going to take a diversity of energy to meet the needs of a growing Texas. And that's what we have. All right. And brisket and tacos. Brisket and tacos. Come to Bell County. We'll welcome you. All right. Hey, thank you very much for stopping by. It was great to meet you, and keep listening. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Where do you get your news from? Where do you get your state and local government news from? Because that's getting harder and harder. And it's essential to stay updated with your community. And it's becoming increasingly important to know what's going on in other cities and states, because they're likely facing challenges that you're grappling with too, or you're going to face eventually. That's why we'd like to welcome our new partner, Route 50, to the show. Route 50 is a leading online publication covering state and local governments across the country. They've written about states protecting themselves against the rise in cyber attacks, counties using AI to better support citizen services, local responses to crumbling infrastructure and extreme weather, and much, much more. There's a lot there. It's a one-stop shop for issues affecting state and local governments and their residents. That's you. That's all of us. Do yourself a favor and go to route50.com to see the topics and solutions they cover and learn what other people in government are doing. They also deliver a daily newsletter called Route 50 Today. I see it in my inbox every morning. I check it out, and you should too. Thanks again, Route 50. We're excited to have you on board and being a partner here at the Good Government Show. What is it that county government does? That's the question county commissioners get asked the most, and the simple answer is everything. On the Good Government Show, we're so lucky to have talked with so many county commissioners and other county officials that have shown us how effective county government is. County government dates back to, get this, 1634, making it one of the oldest forms of government in the United States. Think about it. Roads, highways, hospitals, schools, recycling, law enforcement, water, sewers, and most of the county, those services are maintained by the county. That's county government. The National Association of Counties represents all 3,069 counties across the USA. NACO helps county government work better together through things like sharing best practices. When county government works well, that's just good government. When you hear a county commissioner from Texas talk about immigration policies and hear his concern for other people in his family, that's something we all should pay attention to. An Army veteran, a Mexican-American, and a local commissioner, his opinion matters. It's always good to hear from newly elected leaders talk about what they see government is for. And for him, you have to bring government to the people. That's another definition of what good government is supposed to be all about. And Louie was the first guest to cite President Lyndon Johnson as his political hero. That's another Texas man who made a big impact. So if you want to hear more from Louie Minor, check out his podcast, The Louie Minor Show. You can find it on his website at louieminor.com/podcasts. Always a pleasure to talk with another podcaster. So check him out. Well, that's our show. Thanks for listening. Please like us and share us with your friends and review us right here where you're listening. And check out our website, goodgovernmentshow.com, for extras. And there's a link to Louie's podcast there. Join us again for another episode right here. I'm Dave Martin, and this is The Good Government Show. The Good Government Show is a Valley Park production. Jim Ludlow, Dave Martin,
that's me, and David Snyder are the executive producers. Our show is edited and produced by Jason Stershik. Please subscribe, then share us, and like us and review us. That's the best way to make sure we're able to keep telling these stories of our government working for all of us. Then listen to the next episode of The Good Government Show.